Apple juice.
It is.
Good evening, everyone. This is Uche and Njoku. I'm here with my brother,
I'm talking AT Archie Tyson in the house, man.
no doubt. We're here. First of all, apologies for not being around for the past 2 weeks, but life happens, so we're just going to go ahead and jump into today's episode. So, as we usually do, before we even jumped on, we were already talking. So I'm going to continue that conversation. We were just talking about before we went on live. So those of you who follow me on Instagram, and I think when I post on Instagram, it goes everywhere. It goes to Twitter and it goes to Facebook, and you've seen pictures of me icing my shoulder, and talking about my injury. So I'm not injured. I'm hurt, really. That's more a hurt. I've been back to jiu-jitsu. That was my happy place for a long time, and parenthood took me away from that for a while. So I'm back in that space again. And as a man of a certain age, I'm in there, rolling with much younger bucks. But thank God for old man strength. I'm holding my own. But so far since I've been back, I've had a busted lip. Like, it's healed now. But today I was like, why's my lip cracked? Like, I know I stay moisturizing. And I realized, I was just yesterday, so I probably got popped in the mouth while rolling around. And then my shoulder is an issue, and it's a shoulder that Archie's actually familiar with. I had surgery on this shoulder. About months before you had surgery. We were roommates at the time.
Yeah.
So
dark times, but it was some great times.
Great times.
Yeah. Summer 13 is out there looking for revenge. Oh, Summer 13. We ain't gonna talk about Summer 13 though. Let's get
like Tales of Two Cities.
Yeah.
Tales of Two Brothers. Doing it was good times. But I had my shoulder jacked up then, got it fixed, and now it just feels like maybe I just overextended a little bit. But the point of this is the fact that being back in this space, back when I was in there, it was mostly 20-something-year-olds, 30-something-year-olds, people who were just like MMA enthusiasts, people who want to learn jiu-jitsu. But right now I'm noticing that the classes that I'm attending, which are really foundational skills, mastery skills, there's a lot of teenagers in there, And the way most of these schools are split up, if you're above the age of like 15, you train with adults, And if you're below that, there's like cubs and younger groups in there. Of course, by the time you're 15, you're high school, you're starting to develop, manly and womanly strengths and abilities. But I'm seeing this. I'm seeing beyond the young people who are in there. I'm going to tell you this right now. The place that I attend is right here in New Rochelle, Jungle Gym. I love them. They're good people, and they do good work as far as training foundations and really, setting rules to learning martial arts. That I think is very necessary. So you're not just learning and going out on the streets thinking that you're going to be Bruce Lee and fucking everybody up. But in this space, I'm seeing a lot of young black and brown kids in there. And I'm asking myself, like, wow, all the years I was attending, I didn't see this many, but I'm seeing it now. And my question to Archie before we jumped on live was, is this a possible response to the violence that's happening in schools and kids and families feeling that, what, I gotta get my kid into something. Like back in the day where people would throw their kids into kung fu and taekwondo. Parents are like, listen, let's go ahead and put them into something to protect themselves, in case something pops off. And my thought process is based on the fact that just on social media, you see a lot of people posting videos of fights happening after school, but even more so now, fights happening in schools and there's always been fights in schools, but now what I'm seeing are straight assaults. Like not even like, we got into it and we just start throwing hands. Mm-hmm. Going on the days of saying like, yo, I'm gonna catch you at 3:00, down the block. It's just happening straight out in the middle of the school. And not only that, just even from the news, teachers fighting students, students fighting teachers, all these different things. And for a child who might feel unsafe and incapable of defending themselves, this is definitely a path that I think parents might choose to put their kids in. But Archie, you said something very interesting that I was even thinking about.
I mean, I just took a different path because, I haven't been a person who attended schools that may have had more than a few violent incidents, um, you learn to defend yourself by any means necessary, right? So whether you knew karate, jiu-jitsu, whether you picked up a brick stick or whatever, you figured out how to get
You
the
figured somehow.
JOB done, right? So I was just like, I didn't see it as a spike in the need to defend themselves at all. That has always been present. I mean, it could be the heightened visibility on social media may have something to do with it, but I just took a whole different take. I just took it as the divestment in um school activities was potentially the guilty culprit. I was saying when I was coming up, even in the type of schools that I went to, you always had a full plethora of athletic teams and intramural clubs. You always had the full gambit of performing arts programs. Like, and again, I'm from Memphis, so our music programs, even in schools that may have had budget issues or that were low socioeconomic and violent and all, like the music programs, everybody had a marching band. Everybody had majorettes and cheerleaders and the flag girls and flag boys. They always been there, whether cats in the hood want to admit it or not. Come on now, let's be real. Uh, they always have everybody sang in the choir or a male chorus or everyone sang perform in the show choir or everyone perform like everybody played an instrument like literally kids used to be walking home with instruments and stuff.
Instruments, yeah.
Like you went to football practice, a basketball practice, but you also went to a choir practice, a band practice, a dance practice. It's just what it was, right? And as schools all over divest in that, claiming that budgets are strapped, even though schools have gotten record numbers of money, um, it kind of leaves kids in a space of like, how am I going to fill my time? We know that during kids are more likely to be killed from what 4:30 to 6:30 in the afternoon or the evening time, right? That's prime time when you should be practicing something, right? But kids are more likely to be killed during those after school hours, more likely to be engaging in sex, using drugs, all that stuff, right? Not to say we didn't do all of that, because I had plenty of friends that were murdered coming up, and I also, may have dabbled in, a narcotic or two, and certainly, they're like girls. So, not to say but like we knew that we had football. I knew that my choir teacher, Miss Tate, she didn't play because we were expected to get superiors. Excellent wasn't good enough. We had to get superiors. So everyone participated in something, and you take that space away. Um, you're gonna put kids back on the block. Bad things can happen. Kids don't even want to be on the block. Not some of them. They're like, nah, I don't want to be out here when it's most likely that I will die. Kids are smarter than we think, so they don't want to be out there. So, parents find them activities now that you might have to pay for because I need that time to be occupied, that 2 or 3 hour block to be occupied. I know the class might be an hour, but I got to get there, warm up, do the class, cool down, and then head back home. So that's a 2 or 3 hour block that I'm doing something constructive as opposed to potentially engaging in deconstructive behaviors. That's where my mind went to.
It's interesting that I totally forgot about that. I went to Inglewood High School, Inglewood, California. Back at least back then, it was considered one of the more established black suburbs of Los Angeles. Still low income, but still it was our community. And I remember at Inglewood High School, Man, we had the full band, like you said, the flag girls and flag boys, the step team, the cheer. It was funny. There's a difference. You have the cheerleaders, you have the step team, you have the flag girl, the flag
they
girls,
were all different.
all that. The drum major. You know,
Right.
our band director was the son of the storied band director of Grambling. I forget his name. But his son, who's now at Grambling, was our band director. So we're talking about there was something. I was not musically inclined. We had a whole entire art studio. You know, that was my thing. You know, so drawing and painting and all those things, there was always something happening, which is interesting because I could vouch for this with full honesty. In my career as an educator over the past 18 years, with over half of that being a school leader, I've yet to have worked in a school building that had the same amount of resources that my high school in the hood in LA with gangbanging and bloods and all that that was happening. We had everything. And it was interesting because I could only imagine how many lives were saved because after school, that campus was not closed until about 6 or 7, 8 o'clock at night. There was always someone on that campus. It was, and I can tell you this because I did ROTC. That campus was also open as early as 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
But there were programs happening
We're talking
all
about
day.
Upwards of a third of the schools. Sometimes at certain times, you got half of a school literally. And I went to school with 15, 1,600 kids, like literally half of a school that's still there and present on campus because you got all of the clubs going on. But when you have like multiple sports teams practicing, cheerleaders, band, choir, all this going on, kids literally, and those are just the big activities. I ain't even got to the stuff like knowledge bowl, quiz, robotics, or whatever else.
Academic, we had the academic decathlon.
Yeah, we're just talking about like the big sports
the standard ones,
and the performing arts stuff. But like every school had it. So you got a large chunk of kids that always has something to do. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember kids, man, that sold. I said, man, now you got me talking Memphis. As I remember kids, man, that sold dope. They sold dope out they saxophone case. But I bet they had their case, and I bet they knew how to play their instrument. And I bet when we got ready to play football on Friday night, they was out there marching with that doggone saxophone in perfect step, right? Because it meant something. As we've gotten away from that, and we've done a great job of investing in stuff that doesn't necessarily instill pride and or give kids something that working towards. We try and substitute that with like, oh, math family night. That ain't no Friday night football game where you got the whole community there.
The whole community.
Like the whole community, right? With flags and that. I'm sorry.
Let's talk about that. Let's go back down memory lane.
I was the captain of a Knowledge Bowl team, and like I was well respected.
And people showed up.
But out there, when I hit somebody late out of bounds in the first quarter on a good Friday fall night in Memphis, Tennessee, oh
Friday
my
Night Lights.
goodness. Bands playing, the band, the flag girls, the crowd. Like I hit somebody late, and I know somebody's like, "Why would you hit somebody out of bounds? That's against the rules." Well, back then you had to set a tone early.
So, bro. First of all, did you hit him late? Did you hit him late? Did you lay the hat on him?
I laid a hat on him out of bounds on purpose late. I didn't do it late in the game. I didn't do it when we needed it. I did it in the first quarter to make.
So everybody knows what this is about to be about.
You would know what we talk about here, right? I did it to make a point. I was setting a tone. Like, no, we're not finna play games tonight with you. And listen, if I gotta, like, we were setting a tone. Back then, football was different. It wasn't.
Real quick, I want to give a quick shout out to our brother Solomon. Peace, my brother. Good to see you too. At least get to see you that you're here. This is a constant presence on our podcast. So I hope you're doing good. I hope your baby boy's doing good as well.
We appreciate it, man.
So it's interesting because man, you're making me think about things that I haven't thought about in years. Because again, I was I was a principal at a middle school and a high school. And those experiences that I had in high school, I've not been able to lead in these 2000s because it's not a reality. At least in New York City, it's definitely not a reality. But we're talking about school having at least a third of the kids didn't go home. They were there till late doing different programs. But then when we talk about sports, let there be a baseball game packed.
Yeah.
Like, let there be a track and field game on our campus.
No, track meets would have been.
Yo, and then the best ones, of course, football. Those Friday night lights. When those lights came on in the fall, it was nice and a little chilly out there. And literally, we used to walk from Inglewood High School to the district office where the field was at. So you would have people out in the streets, their cars and banners out, and we would walk to that field. And again, we're talking about the whole entire community. It was a community event, and let it not be. Listen, if it was Inglewood High School versus Morningside High School, the two high school rivals in Inglewood, everybody was there.
Well, we never.
Everybody was there. Plus LA sheriffs.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, we never.
Guns
we never
cocked and out.
I'm sorry. Melrose High School, when I went there in Memphis, was one of the. There were 5 high schools in the country with, I think, 8 or more NFLs that were current. When I was in high school, Melrose was one of those high schools, and like they were just ridiculous. But I should shout out because I mean they were running state championships up. The big mountain white boys up there in Knoxville and shit. They used to get mad because Melrose they were just it. But like if we were playing them, first of all, the whole hood had to show up because if your whole hood didn't show up, you were gonna have a problem because their whole hood was gonna be there, and like
that's how you kept everybody in check,
right? Kept it even. Like everybody, for the most part, agreed with police and local clergy to keep everything smooth and cool. And for the most nights, everything was smooth. But the larger point is, kids literally in droves on a Friday night, where they were going to be. You go to some high school football games now. Where are the 2 bands? Where are the dance squads? Where are the all of our other athletes was there in their Letterman jackets and stuff. Even if you didn't play football, and most folks did, like the baseball folks was out there. Our soccer team was my school was 97% black, 3% international, which is why we had one of the best soccer teams in the state all the time. They're like, how in the world? Yeah, that ESL program kept us stocked with thoroughbreds. I'm talking
ESL recruiting.
And ESL, I'm talking about we didn't recruit. They came over, and the thing is, at my high school, you want to respect. They got out there and won immediately. And once we saw our name in the paper, ranked number 4 in the state, we went from nobody on the soccer field, barely having a team, to number 4 in the state. You're a powerhouse. Yeah, you want respect. There it is. We never had there was never a ESL was you want to see a model for integration. I just think back to my experience in high school. We had students that came from a little bit of everywhere, and my high school was probably about 94% black. But again, we had kids that came from everywhere, and it just worked because when you just integrate fully into what we got going, it's kids sung in the show choir. Kids played in the band that were in it. It's just you were just one of us. I don't know if that happens everywhere, but again, it might be bullying. It might be the cause of the spike of kids investing in mixed martial arts, or it just could be that they're just looking to fill that space with something that's productive, going to give them some discipline and keep them out of trouble. The age old thing.
The sad part of this is the fact that as we're talking about this, in my mind, this is not that long ago. It's
no.
I remember it clearly, but if we look at the time, at least in my case, that was over 30 years ago. Well, and the issue with that, 40. So your kid 20 years plus.
22, 23 years. I mean, it is a great. I graduated high school in 2001. I realized that when I turned 40 back on February 11th. Shout out to my wife for throwing me a crazy
awesome
party on the 40th there in New York City.
Set the standard. This man's over here talking about my birthday's coming up. I don't know what we're gonna do, and I'm like this. Don't ask me shit.
Yeah, they got me. I've never really been got before, but being in a working full time in a company, being a full time dad, and then also full time doctoral student, like literally, it created a crack, and they got me. They exploited, they lied to me, they got me. But it was a great time. But I don't even know what we were just talking about. Let's get back to that topic there. But I just had to shout out my wife, but that was a crazy birthday.
For
I know
sure,
what
for
I was gonna
sure.
say. I know what I was gonna say. I was saying I was turning 40, and I'm like, damn, it hits me every day. Like, oh, I'm 40, and Dr. King and Malcolm X both were killed and murdered, assassinated when they were both 39, and I'm like, who? I've gotten
No,
past the age where they were gone. I don't know. I think about that quite often. Totally off topic, but just interesting odd fact. Let's carry on where
no,
we were.
no, no. But it it's not off topic because just when you think about time, and it's funny because in today's standards, when you know, I'm shifting, but not quite shifting yet. But I love the fact that you brought that up because when you talk about the age 39 or your 30s, to be in your 30s back in the 60s and 70s was a very different level of maturity and manhood than it is today. You know, the number of us who have been feet planted in manhood since our 20s into our 30s into our 40s are far few. Because so often I come across dudes who are in their 40s and I'm confused. I'm like, man, how old are you again? Because the behavior, the mannerisms are so off or so immature. So the fact that, you know, it's funny because when you look at Dr. King, you look at Malcolm, I'm not thinking 30s. I'm thinking these were like the vestiges of what manhood should be. So that age number is much higher. So it's funny because even as I'm 46, I'm thinking I'm still aiming towards becoming as mature and as for accomplished as they were, you know. But it's interesting.
I mean, some positions age you.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
true.
like it's just like being a certain level of stress is gonna age you. But I just think that I always say revolution is in the hands of the young, right? Um, I I don't know. As I turned 40, I just was just thinking like wow, like Dr. King or Malcolm X, neither one of them actually made 40. They had young
It's
children. They
crazy.
had children that were my kids' age. You know, I mean,
Same
it's
here.
a you know what I'm saying? They were fathers. They were real live people that, that were gunned down in for all intents and purposes, really in their prime,
In their
right?
prime.
You're really like you're hitting your stride right there, and
And
like
actually,
so
in all reality, we could actually even argue maybe they weren't even at their prime yet.
it might not have been. I always say like you got a gap between 35 and 55 where you like really like, can like you've hit your doggone maturity. I think once you hit 55, you hit a different level of wisdom, and it's different there. But they didn't make 40. Uh, so it's and I got a lot of folks that didn't make 40, but it's just I just think about that as I had that wonderful birthday weekend with family and friends that all lied to me, to my face, many times to set up a behind the scenes surprise party. I just think that it's I don't know that just always it's just been sitting on me lately. I don't know. I just had to push that out there into space. I don't know why it's been sitting on me.
I hear you, man. I hear you.
But yeah, I mean,
That's it.
but getting back to our topic, I mean, it wasn't that long ago. We're not talking like 50 years ago. Like we're talking 25, 30 years ago. Like, and it just wonder like what was the massive need for divestment, because it didn't work. Just the
But I think
number of
I think it
teen
was
murders.
intentional. I think it was intentional. I think it was intentional. It's funny. Yesterday I was on TikTok and I saw a video, and the video was talking about how they're over. The commentator was saying, "How do I trust a country where there's over 1 million black men in prison?" something like. And I just thought to myself, I'm not sure if that number is correct. I didn't go back to do research to confirm that number, but that was the number that was put out there. And I was like, if there's a million black men in the country, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. And if you're talking about the age groups, we're talking about typically men who are from the beginning of adulthood, often to that 50s, that space. So we're talking about fathers and brothers, and but then when you also consider the fact that there's a whole entire prison industrial complex that's not just for the purpose of just putting people in prison, but the purpose of actually, profiting from people being in prison. So my question is, not question, but my thought process is, if you divest from the things that will keep people on the straight and narrow and give them opportunities to do more. Because for me, I benefited from being in an environment where there were all these things. I could have pursued a football career. I could have pursued an art career, or I could have stayed the traditional academic route, and it's where it brought me. There was paths for me. But I've worked in schools where I see kids, and the only thing we're telling them is, go to school, stay in school, and go to college, because that's the only chance you have. And again, it doesn't speak to the plethora of gifts and talents. That's one thing about school. School was a space for me that allowed me. But the other thing too, I did a lot of in high school. I did a lot of writing. I did a lot of poetry writing. I contributed articles, and I did journalism and all those things. And it's funny because now that I'm doing more writing now, I'm thinking to myself, it just didn't pop up from college. That was high school. That was Mr. Milliner's classroom. That was just teachers who said to me, Mr. Hayfley and all these teachers who really pushed my writing, But then Mr. Clifford, who pushed my drawing, Then Coach Angelo Jackson, who was my football coach, All these people allowed me to express myself in different spaces. So I had choices. I had options, and some of those options that I thought were dead are now starting to come back to life again. But it all happened from my youth, where I was in a space where that was permitted to be expressed. But we're giving kids only one option: English, math, science, those grades, and hopefully, we know that's complete nonsense, because we're doing this cookie cutter schooling environments for kids, and we know. I think what we're seeing in schools and the need for whether it's parents to give their kids other spaces for extracurricular activities, or potentially send them to like places like jiu-jitsu or MMA, so that, hey, if something pops off on your way home, especially like in New York City, you might have a chance to defend yourself if the person doesn't have a gun, if it's just throwing hands, and that's crazy. I know I said a lot, but it's like,
it's a reality. I'd rather like it. Throw them hands. You don't need to throw no bullets at nobody. Throw them hands. Let the best man, woman, dog, cat, chicken, or whatever win. It'll take it back old school. So I would pray that might be people's solution, is to be able to throw hands as opposed to engaging in solving disputes. Don't get me wrong. I'm not endorsing of resolving disputes with violence all the time. There is a time and place. I do want to be clear. There's a time and place.
But can I ask you a question
where the resolution is going to be violent, right? But that's not the first, that's not the first avenue that one's going to take. And if it gets there, I would much rather kids throw them hands where somebody's pride is going to be hurt. Everybody gets a chance to walk away for the most part, as opposed to kids resolving issues as they've done here in Baltimore City the first 2 months of the year, where we've had 27, I think, teens shot. I think 9 between Baltimore City and Baltimore County have died. Teenagers, and mostly black boys.
Same thing here in New York City. They've had the most murders in any in the first I think they said the
We're
first 2
talking
months of the year.
8 million people in New York City. Baltimore City is not
Yeah,
that,
but
like
the numbers are not that high. That's crazy.
that rate is so unreal that is scary. So again, dealing with that, if there's going to be violence, I would rather for it to be throwing some hands and folks get up and walk away from that than to not, throw hands and resolve it with weapons, which has disastrous results for the aggressor and the person that could be quote unquote being bullied. Because again, you take someone out, you kill someone, your life is potentially wrecked as well, and your family's. So it's an all around bad situation. You throw some hands, a little suspension. Football coach make you run when you get back. Oh, you're not supposed to do that anymore. That's a
But
problem too.
but
Right.
okay. So like you just said something right there at the end of that sentence about football coach. You get you might have to do some like my coach he loved us
Up
doing
pass,
gassers. Just doing gassers.
gases, up
He would like
down,
just
rolling the field. Oh,
go
yeah.
down to the end zone, just go back and forth until I tell him to stop.
Yep. So I said,
and,
no,
and,
or
and
either
the cones already
doing
set up. The
ladders.
cones are set up for you.
I'm saying, or either doing ladders to the 5 back, 10 back, 15 back, 20 back. Just
Oh,
keep
have you
on
ever
going.
done gassers on the bleacher?
Yes, terrible.
But
Oh,
no,
never
but think
mind.
about this. Another possible correlation here when I'll give an example like in New York City, sports is not a priority. And not only that, the spaces to have kids have spaces, the spaces to provide kids with the opportunity to exhaust aggression.
Yes,
Like
let me say this.
football, if it wasn't
Yeah,
football, I'd have been fighting all the time.
you see, I leaned in. No, I'm gonna say if I didn't play football, I would be in prison right now. That is probably as close to an absolute truth as I can act. If I didn't play sports, I played football, I trained for football. Yes, I had a good shoulder on my head. Yep, I was in the hood. My dad a preacher man. I come from a 2-parent household. Yada yada yada. Yep, all that's true. But if I didn't play football, if I didn't get a chance to hit people for several months out of the year, right? You talk noise, sometimes I let it go because don't worry. Don't worry. Football camp's coming up. That's cool. You talk noise from another school at a basketball game. We used to pay to get dude's jersey. Like, what's that dude football jersey number, right? We used to pay like the chicks to like spot, like, nah, like he was talking noise. Yeah, he 21. Cool, not a problem. Like,
That's crazy when
if
your
I
name becomes a number. When your name becomes a number, like, yo, 35, 35. I'm gonna remember you. I'm gonna remember you,
Yeah, I
35.
remember. Yo, I get into it with you at the mall. That's them boy from Trez, man. Cool. Let's get that number. That's cool. We'll see him again. You know what I'm saying? Or if we get to fight, tussling, or track me. But that like, but what I'm saying is we walked away from that. And I'm saying if I had been resolving those disputes at the mall or at the fair or at different places with guns like they've been done now, I'd have been locked up. Something like
Yeah.
I've been gone. The time that I spent practicing, riding on the bus to games, after the game, the showers, the lifts, the football camp, like that's time I'd have been on in the street.
It was a
And
full-time
again,
job.
we done already talked about Memphis being a Mogadishu, like no disrespect. Well, I guess that is disrespecting fucking Mogadishu, but whatever. Uh, it just was. It can feel lawless at times. So I'm like, I literally used to find summer programs in high school for me to go to. That's how I ended up going to prep school. That's how I ended up going to Exeter. I found programs. My wife laughed at me because I said, I'm not staying in Memphis in the middle of the summertime. People get shot.
Listen, my mom had me in Boy Scouts. I hated it.
I
But
got kicked out.
however, listen, my mom put me in Boy Scouts in Westwood. If you're listening, you're from California, and you're from Los Angeles, Westwood Westwood is Santa Monica, Beverly Hills. I was the only black kid in that scout troop. I don't know how my mom found them, but they took me in and they would come pick me up. But the one thing, and I did that all the way through till junior year in high school. So them short shorts, them tight ass shirts, but had me camping, had me out in the woods, so I wouldn't be in the neighborhood, during the summertime,
Yeah.
But again, those opportunities were out there. They were out there.
I mean, but I mean, so when you kids are now in the neighborhood, right, with little or nothing to do, stuff starts happening. You've had
Yeah.
so many more kids that have died of overdoses. I mean, I didn't have kids. Kids just didn't die overdose in the hood. Like they wasn't messing with heroin. Folks smoke weed. Somebody might have snorted a little coke, but like ain't nobody like folks not.
Yeah.
They not shooting heroin and fentanyl. Like second of all, you couldn't play no football doing that, man. And you couldn't play basketball doing that. You couldn't do
Run
like you had
track,
to be able to
tennis,
run track.
any of
You
that.
had to be able to ball out. Like you know what I'm saying. So it really has a domino effect when you remove certain. And I'm saying like those were a big part of my experience coming up, middle and high school, even in elementary to a certain extent. Like there was competition. Every school had all of those teams, and yeah, you wanted to be able to beat those teams. And we didn't have social media, but we knew who was who at what school. We knew the top dogs at different schools, and they knew us because we all would, be at track meets and basketball games and football games, and when the skating rinks and all. Like we ain't had that social media, but it was definitely a scene. So you know what I'm saying, and you don't want to be the person to kill your partner, kill another top person at the school for what? Nigga, we take that out
The field,
on
on the court.
the field, on the court. We're not killing each other. I remember, like so, and it was just different. Now I don't respect the folks over there that go to this other school, and even here in Baltimore, I don't respect them dudes. I don't respect those chicks, right? I couldn't stand my rival folks in high school, but there was a healthy respect we had for them. We couldn't stand them, but we're nobody trying to see nobody buried. You know what I'm saying? Like it just is what it is. If you want to be on top, then you need to train that much harder, and you just sell out for a cause.
And
Sell
the
out
fact of
for
the
a
matter
cause.
is, the fact of the matter is, if you made it to the city All Star game, whatever the case is,
You
that
was
dude's
with
your
all of them,
teammate. You're,
right?
you're
You was
your
with all
teammate.
them dudes.
In some cases, you're visiting schools, and you're like, wait a minute, you think about coming here too? You might be my teammate. So,
Yeah.
but let me ask you a question though. What impact did the community back then have on on kids, young people, really want to maintain their status? Because I remember, when I realized that I'd be walking down the street and somebody would say, yo, 35. I was running back, 35. And I look, and be doing in the car, couldn't say my name for shit, but grown ass man, but knew who I was. But I played for the team. He would ask me, so how we gonna do this? How we gonna do this? How we gonna do this Friday against so and so? Then you realize, wait a minute, I'm not just playing for myself. I'm not just playing for my school. I'm playing for my city. I'm playing for my
Right.
hood.
Right. You playing for your hood. So you play for your hood, and then, as I said, we hated Melrose until Melrose advanced to like the state semifinals, and then everybody in Memphis was behind them, right? It didn't matter if you were North Memphis, South Memphis. It didn't like it was just like one of the Memphis teams playing, and like y'all repping y'all city, right? So we behind y'all for these 2-3 weeks because hey, we ain't, you know what I'm saying. But like now you playing ball for your like nah, it's your hood is on the line. I remember you used to have the D boys. I'm talking about buying cash sneakers and like throwing $100 bills on the game. Like yo, hit that three. Like, but people were out there like the candy lady. For y'all people that don't know what a candy lady is, I'm not gonna go through that. If you grew up in the hood, there are illegal stores and establishments where people don't have stores that are typically run by black ladies, and they have your typical range of treats. Some of them are a little more elaborate and cook smoked sausage, hot dogs, chicken sandwiches, fried calamari.
out the grocery cart, out the
Right.
grocery cart.
Yeah, y'all didn't hear me. So,
Those are listening. I'm talking
but
about the grocery cart that you find at your store, at your Kroger's or your Walmart's.
yeah,
That cart was transformed into a mobile store. Loved it. Loved it.
I mean, I mean, so in the hood, just yeah, because I would have said that, and some folks would have been like, "What's a candy lady? I don't know what he's talking about." And I just like, "Oh yeah, I forgot I'm not in an exclusively all black space where I say candy lady." And Huck's like, "Yeah, we know the candy lady is. Everybody have, you know what I'm saying? Because you ain't walking all the way to Circle K or 7-Eleven or the Quickie Mart, not in the hood. Like you walk all the way, you might have to cut through some streets that ain't territory of your folks." No, you go to the candy lady at nighttime. You go grab some, and the candy lady probably sold Michelob Ultra and all that stuff too,
And no,
right?
and wasn't nobody robbing her. She didn't.
Think about it.
She wasn't threatened. That was somebody's auntie, uncle, cousin. That might be your mama, and
That was
everybody knew.
somebody.
Off
Yeah, that
limits.
was right. That was off limits. But who gonna mess that up? Because the candy lady shut down. That means we gotta cut through. We gotta go to Circle K. We gotta go to the store to
And pay
get Big
taxes.
Homie a pair of square. We gotta go to the store to get Big Homie a pack of squares in enemy territory. That's not good. So
Not
no, you
happening.
don't mess with the candy lady. Like no, the candy lady is off limits. I don't care what drugs you are. You do not mess with the candy lady. That everybody know it. That so and so auntie. Cool. I don't care what's
Yeah.
going on. Protect the candy lady at all costs. And there's some dudes that come from somewhere else was going to the candy lady. They also knew it's some artillery pointed to because it's like, nah, don't mess with our candy lady, especially if she was a good one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So shout out to all the good candy ladies out there. But the communities were great. Grandmas knew who you were. Oh yeah, you win a couple ball games, man. You were it. You remember what it's like to win a couple ball games back in the day? Even when I was a young teacher and I was coaching when I got out of college, man, I won some football games, some basketball games down there when I was in Lake Village, Arkansas. Man, they make you feel like you was it. Man, they come pick your car up from the school and change your oil and bring it back. I'm talking about you go in the grocery store. Oh, don't worry about it, Coach Tyson.
Yeah.
Soul food places and ladies, man, make up like parents bringing you plates to school. Like you win a couple ball games, it was it. Like you get a couple kids in the school, in the college, man, they yo, you like a god in them places, right? And communities, people, it just debunks the myth that black people don't care about education, don't care about culture, and don't care about community. Because again, everybody knew folks in those communities. Now, again, part of this again, I've worked at charter schools extensively, and it's a part of that problem that some of the liberal white folks that you know started some charter school didn't really realize is like you need to build that sense of community in schools. You can't, yeah, academics is absolutely important, but that sense of community kept a lot of foolishness down, as well as it brought folks back to the community once they went and got degrees. One of my sharpest criticisms about charters and folks that claim to have solved the academic achievement gap is they haven't solved the injury gap, right? You siphon and send all the community's most talented kids away. Now they don't want to have anything to do with the hood, but you still got housing inequities, food deserts, and all these problems that need to be solved by these minds that you have shipped off to another space that are unable or unwilling to come back and invest their talents or at least give back some talents before you go ye off somewhere. So I don't know, just community was just so important, and it meant everything when you got that like that nod from folks after you won something, like that nod. They're like, yo, we saw y'all out there, man. Y'all put it on them, man. Y'all keep doing your thing. It just meant everything.
So tell me this. I want you to think deeply about this. And you're an awesome storyteller. So I know you're gonna paint us an amazing picture. The first time, that first morning you woke up, you went in the shower. You know what I'm saying? Got dressed, and you knew that was gonna be the first day you were rocking that Letterman jacket.
Oh man. Oh man.
Tell me about that feeling.
So
What happened?
let me skip that feeling for a second. First of all, let me get this off my chest. This notion these days that everybody gets to be somebody without actually having to become somebody, it just irritates me. You don't get me and you are not the same, right? We are not the same. You ever had somebody a old friend come to your house or see you and you riding something clean or you got it and he try no, me and you are not
No,
the
no, no,
same.
no, no. That's why
You
when they say these words, man, you mad lucky.
luck. Ain't no luck. Do you know what I had to do to get
Man,
here? Do you literally know what I had to do to be here? You know what I had to survive navigating these schools that weren't designed to me to figure. So the notion that you get to be somebody, you go to the store and you buy a little Letterman jacket and you put it on, and you hadn't had to show up for 2 days, real 2 days, not fake 2 days, real 2 days. You know, like when we did two actual real live 2.5, 3 hour long practices, plus you
they don't know
had
about
film
that.
sessions
When
and weight room
after the
sessions.
first session, you literally, I mean, many days I literally fell asleep in the weight room on the
Yeah,
field because I'm too tired to go home and come back. So I'm going to
I'm not
stay
going
right
all the way
here.
back home and coming back. Yeah,
Wake up, have some Cheetos, and
yeah.
be
Go to
back
the
in it.
candy lady, get some,
Get some Fritos and
take a dump,
some chili Fritos.
take a
Jump back
dump,
into
get
it.
some pads back on.
Yeah.
Go to camp 257. You come out, you 224. You got abs. You got to gain 10 pounds back before you can get. Like I'm saying, you get to just be. You hadn't had to go through overtime with. You hadn't had a 300 pounder step on your toe with a cleat. Mm, your big toe with a cleat right there on the
I
nail.
got one
Take
for you,
the
man.
nail off.
I got one more, be more painful than that. That dog fight.
Mm.
That dog fight. And it's like a tied game, overtime. And then these fools make that field goal and it's over. And everybody's crying. Gangsters and dudes, everybody's holding each other. That pain. Then you're in the car backseat going home, you're still crying. You know,
Yeah,
but you know the commitment you put in. Or don't let it be that last game. The season's over. Like you don't make it to the playoffs, or you get knocked out the playoffs, and you just know it's over. That
it's over.
pain, that pain. And for those of
It,
you
like
who are listening or watching, it's a real pain, but sacrifice.
I was like I'm saying, like y'all was in sunny California. I talk about we down in Memphis, Tennessee, Mississippi heat in late July, August, the dog days,
Yeah, you guys,
doing two a days.
yeah,
It's 100 when they say it's
yeah.
115
You guys had
degrees.
humidity. We had that dry heat. It was painful,
Right,
but
I'm
I
saying
can't do
like
humidity. You can't even
115
breathe.
degree heat index. I'm talking about the mosquitoes, all that. Like you put in work, right? You don't know what it's like, the joy of winning a state playoff game, and it was raining, and it rained so much that y'all just run and y'all like literally
Just mud
swimming
everywhere.
on the field and wallowing in mud. It's just absolute bliss and joy. Like you don't know that, and you get to go and buy a jacket and you get to get a trophy to you. You haven't got hit so hard that you heard cowbells ringing. You ain't pissed no blood.
Blood.
Yeah, I said pissed
Listen,
blood.
those of you who are watching and listening, you don't know what we're talking about. Listen, one time I got speared.
Yeah.
The
Oh
most
yeah.
strangest sensation. It wasn't painful, but my whole entire body just was like. All of a sudden, I was like, "Why am I tasting metal in my mouth?" And I remember I had to take a piss, and it was after practice. But the coach was like, "Hands up, take some breaths. Okay, shake it off, keep going." Then after practice, after practice, when that joke came out red, pure red, I was like, "Oh shit!" And they were like, "You had a bruised kidney."
Yeah, you ain't pissed no. You ain't had no bruised sternum.
Oh man.
You ain't burst no burst to say you hadn't had a fingernail ripped off of somebody's jersey and you like, man, I sure forgot to cut them up. Yeah, like you
Man,
don't
I
if
didn't think about
you don't
that.
right. You talking about just all the small little bit. Like you don't know what it's like to be at the bottom of a fumble pile. That is the worst place on the
Getting
planet.
getting
It's
getting
it's it's
kicked and
ball
kneed.
hitting, people trying to get it for eyes, y'all digging in your nose, trying to scratch your tongue. If it was raining on a hood field that was uneven, you almost you gotta hold your breath because you might get drowned like that. Oh my god, it was terrible. You don't know what
Listen,
it's like. And then
half of my
you
ankle injuries was because of fields. Half of my ankle injuries that I had in high school was because of horrible ass fields where it was
yeah.
uneven and you saw that grass, but you didn't realize that the grass is straight, but there's a good 5 inch dip. After a
I
while, you start to
mean,
memorize people's fields.
you don't even know what it's like to have to go out and play one of them honky tonk teams somewhere out in
Yeah, I don't know
Dyersburg,
anything. I
Tennessee,
don't know anything
something like
about that.
that, and you
I don't
get
know nothing
called
about
all
that.
type of niggers and spooks and coons, and you got to keep your cool and play football.
We played Beverly Hills High School. We played Hamilton, and they were just shook. We showed up and they were just shook. So I don't even know.
Man, like
Damn, that's a
I
whole
can't
nother.
stand folks that no. Being it's the difference between an astronomer and an astronaut. You can study it, you can talk about it, you can commentate, but to do
Facts.
it day in and
Facts.
day out, to put it in, you don't know what it's like for a dude to see a knee injury or ankle injury that just took away a D1 scholarship. And then look in a kid's eyes, look in a teammate's eyes, because they know they chance to go to Notre Dame just went down the drain. And they
And
gonna be
and
in I'm gonna be in the hood, man.
and
I ain't smart like you, man. I'm gonna be in the hood, man.
and you look at the odds of everybody on that field, your teammates and even the other team. Ain't nobody celebrating.
Ain't
Everybody's taking
nobody
that knee.
celebrating that.
Everybody's taking that knee.
And
Because
that's what I
we
mean
all
by
knew what that
respect.
meant. Respect.
It was respect, right? So the fact that everybody get a trophy now, everybody get a Letterman jacket when it's unearned, I will never get on that train because you ain't earned it. You ain't put in the work. Folks again, when folks come and be like, "Oh, you're lucky. You live in a nice house." Like, luck. The toilets that I done had to scrub, the people I done had to throw out of clubs, working security, the cafeterias I've worked in, the the I'm not going to incriminate myself in any way. The things that I've had to do to scrape by and make sure I made it through college, and I got like that, no luck. So, but the first day I got a Letterman jacket, oh, I was walking on water. I'm talking about I was it. I knew that every young lady didn't take notice, but enough of the population took notice of me and my new black and gold that yes, I was a I was a
Lettered.
dog.
You're a lettered man.
I was a lettered man. I was marked. They knew that mean you was a big dog now. They meant something. I hit the mall. They know, cause they ain't just give them out to everybody. You had to earn that sucker. It doesn't matter what school you went to. When I was in school, you ain't just getting it. Everybody did not just no mass order. Let's just mass order Letterman jackets to everybody. Nah, you had to earn that. Coaches
Yeah.
didn't. Coaches wouldn't order it unless you earned it. So you had to put in work. So I was walking on water.
You
I'm
weren't even
talking
wearing
about
that jacket. You weren't even wearing the jacket without the letter. You had to get that letter first.
no, you had to get the letter first. Yeah.
First. 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 My first time was a sweater. I was a little bougie. It was a sweater. I was a little cardigan. I was on some shit like, okay, but for me it was also, I'm going to be a college man as well. So, it had the green and white sweater. But again, it's funny because those moments it hits you. It was emotional for me. because it was like, damn, I got one. Like, are you serious? But you know, like we spoke about earlier, you knew what it cost you. It
Yeah.
was a cost to even be seen as being worthy of that.
Right.
You
And
know,
it was a cost to put the extra, like, cause ours you could put like your football letter, track letter, choir,
so
band,
we had,
concert,
yeah, we had the little we had the pens and they we add
yeah,
to it.
like no, my leather jacket is still at my folks' house somewhere down in Memphis. But it's one of those ones where like you had to earn certain things, right? And like that culture doesn't exist right now because every like the culture, our kids, unfortunately, like everything has to be fast. I gotta get what I need fast, right? And when athletics, it just doesn't work that way, right? No, you have to literally put in the work. And I think that, you know, giving kids more spaces to build communities, to put in work to achieve something, right? To learn how to win and lose with dignity and class and grace, right? But to also build, to work towards something that ain't all about them. Like we've lost a piece of that, and was just integral even in my community coming up, let alone just going back several generations. Yes, academics are vitally important. Like you got to be able to read, write, and
Right.
calculate, compute, and and building community is just as important, if not more important to me, to know that you are valued and there's some camaraderie, there's a tribe that you're a part of.
There has to
Because
be a
I'm
rites
just
of
like,
passage. There has to
right,
be a rites of passage.
yeah, yeah. You like if you don't have a tribe, you know, growing up, it's gonna be, it's gonna be a lot. And there's some research I was reading around this notion that there's so many loner like young males now, right? They ain't having sex as much as we did when we were like their age. They don't hang in packs as much.
I saw
They're
that.
not participating like sh- sh- like being a part of some tribe, even if you are definitely have an alpha personality. It was great to be on the football team or the track team with other alphas because all y'all walked around and doing it. It was always great when a good alpha and a good alpha got into a good squabble because all the rest of the alphas like, oh yeah, yeah. It's like you wanted them dogs to be around, right? Um, but it's just I don't know. It's we lose certain things and we trade it off and say, hey, let's try and make sure we obliterate this academic gap. And what are we going to take away? We're going to take away these culture items that were vital to tamping down violence, tamping down a lot of things that could possibly be happening. I just didn't have time to be sitting around in the evening time thinking about contemplating suicide. I had to be at choir practice, then go to football practice. Then I went to work. Uh-oh. That's a dirty term. Work. Yes, I worked too in high school. Two jobs at Church's Chicken, and I worked at Finish Line shoe store. Yeah, Church's Chicken. If you ain't been, it's today March the 1st.
Yeah, it is.
If you've never had February the 1st, March the 1st, or April the 1st fall on a Friday during tax season, we're talking the first of the month, Friday, tax season, and you worked at Church's Chicken, you don't know what misery is. Black people used to be out of cut. The rare time when the first of the month fell on a Friday during tax season was the most I've like it is a beautiful thing. I could probably do my dissertation on it.
I haven't thought about that, but it's true though.
It was just misery, right? But I worked. The point is, I worked. I worked, right? After I finished stuff, so I didn't even have time to sit around and think about. Like, oh, somebody bullying me. I ain't got time to be thinking about that. Like, I'm listening. And if I ain't at work, I'm trying to see what this young lady over here talking about. And or either I'm over there kicking it with my folks doing something stupid that I shouldn't be doing, which is why I worked and did a lot of activities. So I wouldn't be doing stupid stuff, but I still wanted to be able to kick it with the young ladies until gas went up. You remember when gas went up? I remember when gas went up to $1.20. I stopped messing with a chick that was all the way across town because I'm like, nah, I had no conception that gas would be where it's at now. But when it went up to $1.20, oh, my 1978 Pontiac
Yeah, I
Catalina
remember
went
that.
driving all the way across town.
Yeah, I remember that. I was already in the workforce, and I just remember thinking to myself, okay, I ain't gonna get me a bus pass because this
Oh
guy's
yeah,
crazy. And
yeah. Because
now is what it is.
I used to fill up a 1978 Pontiac Catalina. $20, you riding all week. I'm telling you, we used to just ride, cruise, put bleach and super soakers and go shoot up the young ladies on the block. All this type of foolishness there when you got free time, which is why you don't need that much free time. But gas went up. I said, nah, I can't mess with these girls live all the way across town. I got to drive over there. Nah, I'm good.
Gotta keep it local. Well,
Keep it
bro, it
local.
is past 10 o'clock.
Yeah, it's past it.
And I definitely want to touch base. I think this is a conversation we might have to continue next week because you said something that's interesting because a lot of our kids out there, you said about working. I didn't have a job in the traditional sense of going work for somebody else. My mother had a store, so that's where I spent my time. And she had me back there cutting stockfish and stocking shelves in her spot over on Crenshaw. So, and the fact that we have a lot of kids now even getting a job. We got grown people who can't get jobs. So for younger people to work, I remember I walked into McDonald's and it would be all my folks. Now it's all grown folk in there, So it's like, how much does that even play to the fact that there's all this idle time on the kids' hands? But
Don't make me be a Republican. Don't make me say that there are jobs out there people don't want to work. We can save that for next week. But
okay,
yeah, I said it. There are jobs out there
I
in the
definitely want.
Baltimore region. I can say and everywhere I go, there are jobs. People don't want to work. They don't want to get outside of their comfort zone. They feel like I have the right to earn what you and I earn, though we haven't done the work
Mm-hmm.
to earn that. It's my right to be where y'all are at. That is that don't make me return Republican, but like
That's
everywhere I go, there are jobs galore. Folks, some of them are really good paying jobs. Some are union jobs, benefits. People don't want to work, right? If
But
they want,
what about access for jobs for youth employment?
again, there are jobs out there. People don't want to work. When I say to people that I scrub toilets, worked in cafeterias, threw people out of clubs, did
That's a good
security
point.
at parties, cleaned it like no, I dug tree holes a summer in college. Like I was never afraid of work, right? Folks don't want to work. There are jobs. People feel that work is beneath them. They feel that they are Saudi citizens. That's work for the Mexicans or the El Salvadorians, or that's work for the Hondurans, or that's work for they don't want
Yeah,
to work. That's
I
black,
want people seeing me out here cutting grass, so I'm not going to do that.
right?
What if somebody sees me?
That's black, white,
Yeah,
Asian, Hispanic. That goes for a number of folks. Folks don't want to work. Now we can get into reasons why in terms of like being exploited in the history of working class and poor. We can go into all that, but yeah, that's another time. But anyway, we're over that time, brother.
yes, sir.
Yeah, it's been
Oh,
a
my
good
brother,
episode.
thank you so much. This was a great episode, and hopefully those of you who are watching and listening, if you are within the space of having kids in school, your children in schools or nieces and nephews, you know, do a check and see what is accessible to them. You know, I can speak factually in spaces I've worked at, not because I didn't try. You know, it's just that you can only do so much with what you're being given. You know, and we gotta create more spaces for our kids to have those resources. You know, at 46, this conversation was just me walking down memory lane and realizing, damn, I'm literally who I am today because of those skills, from the things that I thought was just me being in a club and just wasting time, that literally made me who I am today. And I'm sure, you know, my brother here, Archie, agrees with that. You know, a lot of the things that you went through in those years were the foundations to the man you became today as well. So, you know, great conversation, you know, and hopefully next week we'll continue. Any parting words, bro?
Hey, enjoy your privileges out there. Be safe, be well. Enjoy your privileges.
All right, y'all. Peace. Till next week.
All right.